because I can still do my screen sharing and everything right here. Okay, and it should improve the audio better. Okay. Has my audio improved?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it couldn't.
Perfectly clear on the TikTok.
Yeah, it couldn't take. I see what's going on. It couldn't take all of the CPU couldn't take me being on both at one time. But it's another way I'm gonna figure out how to stream, because I know you can stream between both platforms. But we'll go here right now because we know that we will be able to reach more of our people. And we give honors to those who are patient with us. If you can, go on the TikTok Moors and share it on Facebook so that the Moors can get it. And what I can do, I can open up, for co-hosting. Or y'all request to come on here, and then we can get you on here like we normally do to open up the way, rather than me having to send the link out. So, having already risen, we apologize for, the delay. Again, we rise and giving praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our Holy Prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. Again, we welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives, and I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Al-Mohadi Shabazz El, and my ancient Comedian high name being the same is Dr. Shedu Wamenti El Muhajid Shepsuel. And we have a grand drawing to bring forth to our family. Praise be to Allah. Give one some insight and upliftment when it comes to dealing with, what it means to be Moorish. It's a grand drawing that we have, to bring on the manifest as always. And our Moorish kin, you most definitely know that we're going to keep it clean and pure. Give me one more second here. Okay. Yeah, we're going to keep it clean and pure. So we're coming from chapter 48. In chapter 48 in our Moorish Holy Quran, when you go into it, we are actually dealing with, the holy unity of the rich and the poor. Our ayat, our featured ayat that we have is ayat 22. And it is stating, let not the rich therefore presume. 49, I meant to say, pardon myself. I'm sorry about that. I'm still thinking we in chapter 48, but chapter 48 is 49 is where we at. We left 48. So chapter 49 is let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor in his poverty yield to despondence. For the providence of Allah dispenseth happiness to them both. That's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. I want to go into the definition of the word presume for those who are looking. And we will go here to give our family the definition of the word as they have it. And presume basically deals with, supposing that something is the case on the basis of probability. It also has to be similar with that of assuming, to suppose, to imagine, to take it, to expect, to believe, to think. So we can go into many different areas with this. So it's telling that is telling our family, let not the rich, suppose on their riches. I think that they riches, is something that's going basically be there all the time. Let's just put it that way, because we have ups and downs when it comes to dealing with life. So don't depend on your riches, because we know that the Most High is the one that give you out of his provision. In the Arabic language, the word al-razak is used. You see? So when we go into that special aspect alone, that's a grand drawing here in and of itself. Then it tells us, right? It say, let not the rich therefore presume on his riches. Don't think you the stuff because you got some riches, right? And nor the poor in his poverty yield to despondence. For the providence of Allah dispenses happiness to them both. So out of the providence of Allah, this is where creative fate is going to be on your side. Some people may consider not being on their side. But let's go into the definition of the word despondence. Because that's an uncommon, you don't hear people use that word all the time. Not just copy it and paste it real quick, into my other window. Despondence. We want to go into that definition. But like I said, don't get the big head because you're wealthy, because you may not be wealthy tomorrow. You may be up 1 minute and down the next. So you got to be humble. You see? Despondent mean in low spirits from the loss of hope or courage. Disheartened, discouraged, dispirited, downhearted, low-spirited. Now, despondent, as it relates to dealing with those who may be considering themselves poor, that's part of the problem. You can only be poor if you believe that you are poor. You see, if you believe that you're a poor man, then that's what you will be. But if you believe that you are rich, then you will be rich based upon what you believe riches are. There's a droid, I think it was Napoleon Hill that wrote Think and Grow Rich. Very powerful individual. If you look into some of the works that he demonstrated, he talked about laying down, going to sleep, and placing the thoughts, of wealth in one's mind. And if one meditated on enough, you can manifest it. So it all has to do with what you believe that wealth is, what you believe that riches are. You see? But irregardless of what, it's stated that the providence of Allah dispenses happiness to them both. He the one that makes somebody feel happy because they feel like they're rich. And he can also make a person that, consider themselves poor feel happy if they are content, in knowing that God provides. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at it from this aspect as well, that's a powerful demonstration, family. But it gives many different aspects when we go into this special chapter, that we are dealing with, as it relates to really where the problems of the world come from, if you would ask me. I want to ask some of our family, and this is just on the fly, a question on the fly. How many of you believe that you are rich, irregardless of what you may have in your bank account? How many of you believe that you are poor, irregardless of what you have in your bank account? That's what I want to ask our family. And I want you to ponder upon that for a minute. There's a droid, in the teachings of Islamism, where it actually states that, Allah, when he um, means good for one, sometimes he bring one hardship, so to speak, or what we consider hardship. He take us through certain measures in order to make us stronger. So if you felt like you were not wealthy in one aspect, Allah is the one that will give you wealth in another area in your life. And that wealth can come from having the knowledge of yourself. You see, if you had a knowledge of yourself, that in and of itself, is wealth. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. If you know that the Most High is at the essence of your being, and that you are able to access his divine attributes, then through access of those divine attributes, one is able to tap into their divinity and pull from spiritual resources that in which you may not be able to pull from what is on the plane of things made manifest or what is physical. So if you can tap into the wealth, of the attributes of the Most High, if you can tap into the wealth, of the divinity that has been placed within you, and then bring that out of you, allow that to emanate from your character, you can actually demonstrate a mode of giving charity to yourself, being a philanthropist to yourself, and by tapping into your higher self, you can power up. You can get your intellectual, your spiritual, your divine bag up, so to speak, because, everybody out here on the manifest is chasing the bag. But when you're talking about a spiritual bag of divinity, we understand that this has been put out there along the lines of them saying, seek ye not anything but the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added on to you. They really say, seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and everything will be added unto you. Our brother Yehoshua Yahshua in the Piscean record state, heaven is a state of mind. You see? So if you have, a heavenly thought, if your mind is your heaven, then, it becomes a state of mind. So we have to get into that as special drawing, family. When it comes down to dealing with the higher self and knowing who it is that really has saving power. We are told that our science is a living manifestation. It's a power that exerts itself for the individual at the will of the user. So when we are able to demonstrate along those lines and understand that we have power, then we don't think that power comes from a dollar. We don't think power comes from prestige. We don't think that power comes from, the things that are only, manifest reality. We realize that we are the source of the power. And when we exercise that power, Allah's true saving power, this is again where we tap into what we call a generational wealth. Everyone has it. That's why we say the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. And in that understanding, we know that understanding is the rock upon which man builds himself. And if understanding is the rock upon which man builds himself in the gifts of the understanding of the treasures of Allah, then you can build yourself up as a result of those treasures that you have in the essence of your being. Praise be to Allah. That's a powerful demonstration, family. And a lot of times our people think that when we get on here, and we demonstrate, we here to preach it. We ain't a preacher type people. We teach over here. We are here to guide our people into an understanding of exactly who they are. You see? I want to see if I can shed a little light and see if this thing is open enough here to bring us a grand drawing, to where we can actually give our people some definitions on words um, dealing with wealth. Here's one word here. In the Arabic, there's a word that actually states jada. Jada. It means to be of great wealth or dignity, be respectable. It means to be new. It means to restore. It means to renew, to repeat. Then you have jadun, which means majesty. It means glory. It means greatness. Judad. It is the plural of judatun, which is stratus, tracks, ways, streaks, and also unexpected, newly made. Again, jadun also means, again, greatness, majesty, and then it pretty much, says new and recent again. And this demonstration is used in the Grand Quran over 10 times. But let's home in on the words to be of great wealth or dignity, to be respectable. Now we see some people, they gain wealth and they get real disrespectable. They like to flex or boast and brag about their wealth. For some reason, we tend to be the people that like to demonstrate like that. And some people say, oh, that individual, he brand new. He done changed. You see what I'm saying? It's rare that you have those who obtain a lot in the realm of wealth, and they keep it on high, so to speak. The arrogance set in, the ego set in, and ones would turn even on their own family a lot of time. So you can be rich in monetary value of what we consider riches to be when it comes to money, and be poor as ever when it comes to dealing with your character. You can lose yourself. So sometime the greater God Allah, will raise up those who are destined for things great, and he will have them be content with what it is that they have, but at the same token, he will allow them to have things good in life as well and enjoy life. But he actually protects them, from becoming lost, especially if it's one of his chosen, and he have a greater plan for them. He's not going to give you the things that will corrupt your character. Because it's easy to be humble when you have no other option but be humble. But when some people feel like they have their way, we seen it in moguls. We seen it in CEOs of corporations. We see how people put them on pedestals and make them like a god. And I'm going to be honest with you, that was really despicable to me. I despise to see a people as if they are worshiping the ground that someone walks on because they own this or they own that, and so forth and so on. There's nothing wrong with pay homage or respect, but when you place somebody up there to the extent to where you gonna kiss their bottom, you know what I mean? And that's clean or dirty, for a lack of better words. When you get into that special state, and it causes you to compromise on your values and your principles. It can be a CEO of a particular company, your boss. It can be your spouse. It can be a friend or whatever the case may be. If you value them in opinion to the extent to where, the things that they say to you, or whatever the case may be, if they encourage you to where you will go against your morals, your values, if you will go against your divinity, And this is a problem. And you can then make that spouse, that friend, or that employer a god. You can actually mold that one into being an idol. An idolatry set in. And that's a sad situation, family. If one began to demonstrate like that now. If we go into a state like that and we have made a god of these particular ones, then don't be surprised when this God fail you, when it don't have ears to hear, eyes to see, or heart to sympathize, with whatever your situation is. So if one is on that level, one is already in the realm of poverty of their thought pattern. One is already in the realm of poverty, of mind, and this is what you will manifest. And if one can see this, they will exploit that. They will exploit your fear. They will exploit, your will to try to obtain something, out of life. They will exploit your ambition, to get to a higher level in life. And this is the way that the world of capitalism has been established, so that you fall victim to the capitalist mindset. This is where you come into understanding when it says, in God we trust. You really understand that this God that you trusted in is either a grantor of dominion, G-O-D, or this God, that you are dealing with is government ordinance department. You see? Or if the God is a geometrician of divinity. We can go into many different areas with this. So, to be of great wealth really has to do with having some dignity. It has to do with renewing your mind. Being newly made in a great way, as opposed to the way that we've been taught by, oh, he got new money. He got old money. You know what I mean? Most of the people with old money, they know how to manage it better. Most of the people with new money, they want people to know that it's new. But when you come into a newly made character, a newly made state of mind, you're no longer thinking like the NBC, the Negro, so-called Negro, the so-called black man, the so-called colored man. You're no longer thinking on this particular level. Man, then that's the greatest degree of wealth that you can have. Now, this is just one word in relation to dealing with wealth. Let's go further. We have another word here. And this particular word is kara. This word is kara. And it means to be in good circumstances, to be favorable, to choose, prefer, select, earn wealth. Now, how does being in good circumstances and being favorable, being able to choose and select, equates to earning wealth? Well, I know they do say some people have only the option of doing what they can, where other people have the option of doing what they want to do. But this too is a state of mind. Like I said, it's up to you if you believe that you're a slave or a servant, or that you are a master and a mastermind. Can't nobody make you that but you. You the only one that has the ability to determine that you are greater than where someone else tries to place you in life. So if you allow somebody to place you, in their mind or in their reality, in the realm of being just a slave or a serf, then who do you have to blame because of that? If you put one in a position of being your Lord and Master, above the supreme reality, then whose fault is it? Are you blaming yourself? Or would you blame, someone outside of the self? If you have power to power up when it comes to dealing with the saving power that's within you. Let's go on with the definition. Kharirun, good, agreeable. It goes on and it states also khairat, a good thing, good works. Hiyarahtun, choice, selection. So we see this is dealing with mainly a measure of choosing, really being the word, that which is of your own prerogative, so to speak. That which is good for yourself. Let's say choosing that which is good for yourself. You earn wealth when you begin to think like that. Well, that's how you become a top earner, by choosing what's good for you. Look, choosing also better, best for, see? Yeah, it goes on. And it says here, hold up, trying to move this a little bit more. Let's do it this way. There we go. Yes, sir. There we go. So it goes on and it also talks about, let me see, it was speaking on significations common to all genders, and that's just speaking on the structure, on the way the word's being used. But the word khair also means considerable and much wealth. Wealth acquired by fair means. Horses, etc., good moral, physical, actual, potential, profitable use, useful thing, happiness, prosperity. Now, we have a lot of people that obtain wealth in the world, and that this wealth in the world is obtained and acquired not by so fair means. They got over on somebody. They were cutthroat in the way that they dealt with business. They stepped on everybody they could to get to where they are. How can you feel successful when you have obtained what you have by those means? How can you demonstrate this when you have lost your moral or direction under your moral compass? How can the wealth that you obtain be profitable to you if you have no moral compass? You will stoop to any level. You will betray a friend. You will lie, steal, kill, cheat, and destroy, and everything else just to obtain your way of what you consider prosperity. That's still a poor mind if you obtain the things it is that you want, or the things it is that you have been searching for or looking for. You see? And we have been taught over here in the West, us as a people, we have come into that cutthroat mentality. What do you think slave catchers, got their means of employment from? As it results to the direction of the slave masters, slave breakers, and slave holders. They had to be exploitable, not knowing that they too are expendable, just as anyone else is, but they had to first be exploitable, for exploitation to take place. So one had to be willfully agreeable to engage in allowing themselves to be an instrument of oppression. And sad as it is to state, many of our people that have gained some prominence in this society or gained a little bit of wealth, they have come into the mindset, of sacrifice. Now, they get into all this stuff when they get into conspiracy theories. They talk about people demonstrating blood sacrifice. And like I say, some people will try to take you off the count or agree with having you to be set up and took off the count. If somebody pay you enough. We've seen this throughout the history, especially when it comes to the street culture. In the street culture, you can have a best friend. and somebody put the right price on your head, that friend will betray you. And they could have grown up with you from the sandbox. This is how bad it is. So the question has been asked in scripture, what profits a man if he gain the world but lose his soul? We seen this even between spouses when it come to relationships between the man and the woman. Depend on who has the rich mentality or the poor mentality, and who may have more on the manifest and who may not have as much. They begin to look at their significant other as opposition, as an opponent. And then they begin to participate in games of competition. And they become more competitive with each other, and they lose again all morals. They lose again all of their moralistic qualities. The thought of being a good person, being a good individual, being good in essence. This don't matter. Anything goes. They call it savage mode, or some people call it demon time. And this has become the new norm when it comes to dealing with those who are on the manifest. So the concept of rich and poor, has either corrupted, a people of society or individuals in society at one point or another. And also they have made people happy in society in one way or another, based on what it is that one has come through. Sometimes one may go through their whole life in what we call material poverty, and the great God Allah then, allows one to basically come into the reality, of what it means to truly be rich. And then out of that wisdom, one is able to give wealth, generational wealth, to the people. This is a powerful demonstration, Moors. So it's really, again, all based upon your level of thinking. So let us go on and see some more of these definitions, in the Arabiya. Okay? Check this one out. Zakama. Zakama. This drawing, oh man, we definitely got to go into this one. It means to gobble, drink to excess. That's something that's actually being touched upon in our chapter too. If we paid attention to what was being stated in our Moorish Quran. It says to take any deadly food. That means you don't even care what you eating. You don't even know that you're eating poison. It means to swallow. Zakum. It is food which kills. Well, Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us the European food ain't nothing but plain poison. And we think of food as just things that we consume and we place in our mouth and we digest in our belly. But what about mind food? What about mind food? A greedy mindset. A greedy mindset is a deadly mindset because it leads to everything, again, that is of the lower self. That leads to theft, murder, and everything that harm. Food which kills. What about the mind food which kills? It kills, one's thought pattern. It kills the ability for one to even think free thoughts. It kills the ability for one to even go into being something greater than what it is that somebody told them they are. It also says dust-colored tree, having small round leaves without thorns. It has a pungent odor, has knots in its stems, and is bitter in taste. The heads of its leaves are very foul. Ooh. It bears a kind of intensely bitter and stinking fruit found in Tehama province of Arabia. When eaten, it gives the feeling of intense burning in the belly, and one needs water to quench the thirst. Like a sick, thirsty camel, intense thirst remains unsatisfied. All that drinking and you still thirsty. You still wanting. Can you imagine that when it comes to dealing with information? All that information that you have, in the thoughts of wanting to receive or obtain wealth, and then when you receive and obtain certain things, you still are unsatisfied. There's nothing that can quench your thirst of greed when it comes to your thought pattern. You always got to have the next best thing. It is also called the tree of curse. Bukhari, right? Al-Bukhari, that's where they quoting that it come from. It describes the punishment that will be meted out to the guilty in the hereafter in the language which suits the enormity of their sins and evil deeds in this world. It says they devoured what other people had earned with the sweat of their brows and suffered from an unstable lust for wealth. There you go. And criminal assaults. Goodness gracious. Now, many people that live like that. Y'all be sure to make sure you keep sharing this demonstration, family, because we got to reach that. We're going to break the algorithm with this. We don't care what they talking about. It says they devoured what other people had earned with the sweat of their brows and suffered from an unstable lust for wealth and criminal assaults. Goodness gracious. You done earned everything you could from somebody else's blood, sweat, and tears. Suffering yourself from an unstable lust for wealth, and you willing to do criminal assaults and everything for it. We see this going on now in the world. Pay attention. It look real familiar, don't it? As a punishment, they will be given zakum to eat, which will burn their inside, and they will have scalding water to quench their thirst, but their thirst will remain unsatisfied, even beyond the plane of things made manifest. People, if you believe that being here in this life is the end all and the be all, and you don't think that whatever you carry over into the soul plane, as far as what the impressions are, within your personality, if you don't believe that these things that you carry over into the next realm of life carry over with you, you crazy. See, you have many of those people, who get into spookism, and they go to talk about heaven and hell, and we know that heaven and hell is a state of mind. Heaven and hell are right here with you in your consciousness based upon the way you live. If you content and you have a peaceful thought, then you dream peacefully. If you have a hellacious mindset, and you have thoughts that are of the lower vibration, then you're going to have some hellacious condition that manifests in your life. Hellacious dreams. Imagine yourself not waking up, from one of the most terrible dreams that you ever had. That's hell. Imagine yourself being in one of the most great vibrations of a dream that you have, and not willing to even wake up from it if it was the will of the Most High. If this is my life, this is where I want to be. You see? Imagine that. That's a powerful demonstration. So we create and we make our heaven and hell by the way that we live. It's the seeds that we plant in our ways, acts, and deeds that make up a tree a virtue or a tree of vices that leads to either a heavenly state of conditions or, hellacious state of condition. So again, when it comes down to dealing with this thought in and of itself, whatever you carry over when you leave this realm physically, it carries over to you in the plane of soul. So that poor thinking or that rich thinking based upon the way that you believe in riches or being poor, it is going to determine, the way you cross over beyond this plane into the reality of life. Because this is Maya, this is illusion where we are now. Everything here is just a testing ground, to prepare you, to make you ready, for that particular journey. That's what life is spent to build, a temple of perfected man. A perfected man can only be perfected by what he thinks. And this is in reference to his mind. A divine mind is always moving in God's speed or divine time. It is the hellacious mind that is governed by the devil's clock. That long hand that moves fast or the short hand that moves slow. Being a slave by the hour under somebody else's direction. Time never was when it come to dealing with God or a God man though. We're not governed by time. You can't enslave us 8 hours a day. You see? So yeah, it talked about as punishment they will be given zakum to eat, which will burn their inside, and they will have scalding water to quench their thirst. But their thirst will remain unsatisfied. That's a bad dream right there to not wake up from, family. According to the Holy Quran, every good action is a good tree. See, remember I was talking about the ways, acts, and deeds being planted as seeds, being a tree of vice or virtue? Every good action is a good tree, and every evil action is an evil tree. So Zukam is an evil tree and the symbolic of the condition in hell. The punishments of the hell are in reality a treatment. So this bitter fruit is the bitter medicine to treat their spiritual diseases caused by the evils they committed in their life. Wow. This is medicine for you. Can you imagine Moore's, this medicine, being given to you is a punishment because of the way that you carried yourself, the way you treated other people? Medicine in this world is given to us to heal us. But can you imagine a medicine being in another realm, in the plane of soul, being given to you as a punishment? And really, there's no cure because you're being punished. But this is your medicine. Woo! Boy, that's a bad situation. And we ain't scaring you up. We just showing you that it's something beyond this realm. So even if you think you got away with it on the plane of things made manifest, you got to stand in the presence of yourself in the supreme reality. And your own limbs gonna bear witness against you. They gonna rat you out. They gonna snitch on you. Your tongue gonna tell on you. Your ears gonna tell on you. Imagine your tongue telling you, yeah, you remember when you gave that order, to have that brother took off the count, because you wanted what he had. Your own tongue testifying against you. You remember, you let somebody put that hater more Mickey, in what you was sipping, listening to all that foul nonsense, and then you start hating your leadership, hating those who are guiding you divinely. Your ears gonna tell on you. Even the hairs of your head. Can you imagine them? Oh man, you thought they didn't know? Your eyes. Can you imagine your eyes speaking? You know anything can happen when you get into the other realm. But can you imagine your eyes saying, "Yeah, we remember that time, man. You were looking at that sister, and you knew that she was in a relationship. She had a husband, but you still went out your way in your lustful thought, you know, and basically you gonna transgress bounds and covet that which don't belong to you. You look in envy as you seen your brother out here making a living, striving to do whatever it is he had to do to make a living, and you want to steal what it is, or take from him, or even take his life for what he worked hard for. Yeah, your eyes gonna tell on you about all that. Your hands, it was you who chose to pull that trigger. You know, because you got in your feeling about a particular issue or situation, creating a condition that you couldn't govern. It was you, your feet gonna tell you, that chose to walk over there, and take yourself over there in an environment that you know you ain't have no business being in, and all hellacious conditions break loose. Can you imagine that? Now, we just described to you in real time how your arm, leg, arm, head will bear witness against you. It will judge you. This is the Allah that's going to call you to account. Like I said, this is dealing with your ways, your acts, and deeds now. Ooh-wee. Let's go on. We were speaking on charity earlier, so now we see the word zakah here. To grow, be pure and clean. Didn't Prophet Noble Drew Ali tell us to purify our hearts and minds? What does it mean to have a pure heart and a clean mind? What does it mean to be a pure and clean nation? Purify, be righteous, thrive, prosper, succeed, grow strong, improve. Oh man. Purity, alms, legal alms, excellence, portion of one's wealth given in order to purify one's self. How many people do you see out there now giving a portion of their wealth to purify themselves? If you have a charitable mind, out of this charitable mind, family, this charitable mind will lead to generational wealth where you won't want for nothing. After you have seeked out or sought out the kingdom of heaven within yourself. It has to do with purification. It has to do with righteous conduct, being pious, taqwa, upright, independent, and fearless. It goes on to say it is also a technical term of the Islamic law that means certain portion or amount of property that is given thereof as the due of Allah by its possession to the poor in order that the giver may purify himself. So if you want to purify yourself from sin, aid and assist your nearest kin. If you want to purify yourself, from things that you feel that has been hanging over your head and spirit, give out of what Allah has given to you. It can be, wisdom, if that's all you have. It says the payment of this religious due is obligatory, provided that the property is of a certain amount and has been in his possession for 1 lunar year. The portion to be given varies according to the nature and amount or property. A lot of people don't want to give other people out of their property. That's why it's a purification process. So you begin to not worry about be thinking along the lines of your wealth to where you are so consuming in your presuming to where, you become, niggardly, as they call it in the Grand Quran, you stingy, or whatever you want to call it, tight. In corn, it is 1/40th thereof, 2.5%. The word zakat is generally translated as Islamic tax. Purifying dues, poor due, or per. You got to work for that, but poor rate, or charity, or alms. But in reality, none of them renders the full meaning of the term. So even though these words explain somewhat what we're trying to get at, they're not the end all and be all in the expression. Thus, it is reasonable to use the term as such. So it goes into many different measures, where it shows the word zakat, he was clean, pure zakat, he purified, Yuzaki, he purifies, Tuzaki, thou purified, Yuzakunna, they purify, La Tuzaku, make no pretensions to the purity of your souls, justify not, do not praise yourself to be pure and pious. That's a form, of zakat. Stand away from that ego. Man, it goes on that he purified himself, he purifies, really the same definitions. But the most pure is to become what they call Zaki Yatun, pure and innocent, the purest. Zaki Yatun, so in other words, pay taxes to your higher self and purify yourself. That makes sense? Pay taxes to your higher self and purify yourself from your lower self. Let's go on. And that's pretty much the end of our definition on the word that deals with, being wealthy, but you get it more. You get it. Where in the world that come from? Okay. They trying to put some wealth up there, huh? Let's see here. Want to go into the word poor. Okay. They're using the word in reference to dealing with a rob, but that's actually in the context of a measure. So we want to actually see. We already went through zakat. This word is Allah in root. It says to swerve, to turn aside, neglect, other side, to do injustice, do wrong, impose hardship, commit oppression, or dishonesty. Have a large family, provide for one's family, feed poor persons. So this right here go both ways. It's mainly dealing with injustice that's being done, or oppression, but in order for one to come out of that state, one actually has to go into dealing with, feeding of people. Like I say, a lot of this has to do with going within, and it's knowledge that you can feed one. It says, Zalika Adna Allah to Allah. This is the best way to avoid doing injustice. Is the best way to avoid deviating from the right course. Is the best way to avoid having a large family. So they go into many different aspects. The Quran is very practical. He found you having a large family to support. Found you in want. Most of us know about having that large family and being in want to support here and there. A European can go into a realm of working, in jobs and be there 15, 20 years. But some reason when it comes to us, we can be hired on a job and fired the next 30 minutes. In this society, we have been made expendable. He found you having a large family to support, found you and won't. It does not refer to temporal or primary circumstances, right? But it says his spiritual needs. Al Rajulu, to have a large family, or it goes also into the sustenance of a family. Il Latum, the family, the wife. Ela Elahu, Hafatun, Ma'ash Atun, to feed a family, provide a family, their livelihood and maintenance. You know, we see this as it relates to dealing with what Prophet Noble Drew Ali has given us in our, divine constitution. We know the duty of man and the duty of the God woman. Those of whom you are responsible of livelihood and maintenance. It's up to us to bring our families out of poverty if we have it, within our means. And Allah will provide. We have fakura, to be poor, destitute, needy. Fakrun, poverty. Fakirun, fakara, to be poor, needy and want of. Fakara, fakira, to overwhelm with back-breaking calamity. Feel a pain in the vertebrae. Goodness gracious. Our people talk about that back-breaking and check-taking when it comes to the European money-making. Fakir, poverty, destitution, back-breaking calamity. Man, that's a terrible situation. How many years our people been under the back-breaking calamity of having no wealth or generational wealth to pass down to their siblings and so forth and so on. You live and you work hard like a mule and then you leave here. Here's another word, tariba, to have much earth, to be full of, earth, have dust in the hands, be destitute. You ain't got nothing but dust to show. Contemporary, companion, match, student age. Oh, they get into matching in other respects and pure one views, breast, and then this one here go in many different directions. Breastbones, poverty, destitution, misery. Poor man intimately acquainted with his mother on earth. Yeah, that ain't good. He sank from the wealth. Dust of the earth. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a lot of definitions when it comes to dealing with, being rich and poor family. But it really all has to do with the thought pattern. So you ask yourself the question, are you rich? Are you poor? Are you a rich person or are you a poor person? And if so, how will you bring yourself out of poverty when it comes to that thought? Because that's all it is. We're not saying that we don't need, finances and things, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali say more is, I need finances, I need them badly. But it states the man to whom Allah has given riches and blessed with a mind to employ them right is peculiarly favored and highly distinguished. So who does your wealth come from? Who does your concept of wealth come from? Allah or the European? It also went on to say he looketh on his wealth with pleasure because it afforded him the means to do good. So one that is truly rich and they have certain things on the manifest, they love to go out of their way to aid and assist and uplift and fallen humanity in whatever way it may be. Like I say, it can be a good word or actual, charity. one becomes a chief protector with their wealth or what it is that they have earned. It say he protected the poor that are injured, and he suffered not the mighty to oppress the weak. He seeketh out objects of compassion. He inquireth into their wants. He loved to look and see where someone is lacking and what they need. One that is wealthy in thought, even if they ain't got a lot of riches, but they intend to do well and good, they ain't gonna sit there knowing that someone, is starving or suffering or in a state of, a bad time in their lives and know this and not be willing to say, hey, brother, all is well. I'm just checking on you. Or they may even say, all right, let me bless this sister or bless this brother because I know that they're going through it. You don't have to tell one that's wealthy in mind that, even if they don't have a whole lot of, things to give on the material. It's in them. They spirit tell them. And they move accordingly. It says he relieved them with judgments and without ostentation. He assisted and rewarded merit. He encourages ingenuity. In other words, when you see somebody striving and doing the best they can with what they have, you encourage them in their ingenuity and liberally promoted every use of design that you see being brought on the manifest. You're somebody that see you putting in work, they'll get behind you and fund, what it is that you trying to demonstrate if they see that you don't have the power to do it. He carried his own great works, his country enriched, and the labor is employed. He formed new schemes, and the arts receive improvement, always working with an industrious mindset. He considers the superfluities of his table as belonging to the poor of his neighborhood. If he got extra, then he don't mind sharing, and he defrauded them not. The benevolence of his mind is not checked by his fortune. His wealth, and his greed of it, in other words, would not stop him from giving out his fortune. He rejoiceth and therefore enriches, and his joy is blameless. But woe unto him that heapeth up wealth in abundance, and rejoices alone in the possession thereof, that grindeth the face of the poor, and considereth not the sweat of their brows. He driveth on oppression without feeling. You hear all them definitions coming into play, don't you? The ruin of his brother disturbeth him not. He don't care that you struggling. He don't care about what you going through. It don't bother him at all. The tears of the orphan he drinketh as milk. Now how you gonna drink them babies' tears as you will guzzle down milk? The cries of the widow are music to his ears. Wow. His heart hardened with the love of wealth. No grief or distress can make impression upon it. It ain't nothing that can have no calamity or nothing that can break through your heart is that hard. But the curse of iniquity pursueth him. He liveth in continual fear. The anxiety of his mind and the rapacious desires of his own soul take vengeance upon him for the calamities he has brought upon others. So yeah, he definitely, looking over his shoulder for karma, to come get his behind for what he done did. Or the way that he thought he got away from something or hid it, but the Most High see you most plainly. Oh, what are the miseries of poverty in comparison with the gnawings of this man's heart? Let the poor man comfort himself. Yes, rejoice, for he has many reasons. He sitteth down to his morsel in peace. His table is not crowded with flatterers and devourers. So one can sit down and be at peace. They lay down and sleep easy, even though they may be considered, in a state of poverty when it comes to monetary things, but in their mind, they're rich. He is not embarrassed with a train of dependents, a whole bunch of young ones, nor teased with the clamors of solicitations. Debarred from the dainties of rich, he escapeth also their diseases. That disease, that sickness that we was talking about, that one get that medicine from when they transcend the plane of things made manifest, and that medicine becomes a punishment. The bread that he eateth is not so sweet to his taste, to the extent to where he ain't willing to give. The water he drinketh is not so pleasant to his thirst, that he is not willing to quench somebody else's thirst. Yeah, for more delicious water than the richest drops of the luxurious. His labor preserveth his health, procureth him a repose to which the downy bed of sloth is a stranger. He limited his desires with humility, and the calm of contentment is sweeter to his soul than all the acquirements of wealth and grandeur. Let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor in his poverty yield to despondence, for the providence of Allah dispenses happiness to them both. So Allah is the provider. Allah is the true giver of wealth. And Allah is the one who is the uplifter of one from poverty. Allah is the one that abases the wealthy, the rich, in material. But yet Allah, it is his providence. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. You see? Once you understand that, then you understand, what it truly means to be rich and truly means to be poor. So that being said, Moorish kin, at this particular time, we're going to open up the floor for our family, so that you may come forth and give your particular drawing. Mashallah. Star 6 your phone, more. Islam, are there any Moors that would like to come forth and exercise their 5? Can you hear me? Islam. We got some rich people in here in thought. Islam.
Thinking together. If you don't know it, don't think it. So I guess we were thinking. I guess I got finished first. What is the topic for the night? And I've been here all night. I've been coming in just a few minutes ago, but I need to be able to focus. And you touched on so much.
Well, I harped upon the unity between the rich and the poor. And our particular drawing in regards to dealing with, the unity, the holy unity between the rich and the poor. I draw from the last ayat, which is let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor his poverty yield to despondence, for the providence of Allah dispenseth happiness to them both. Islam.
Gratitude. This is Sister Cammy. I rise, honor, and praise the great God of Allah. I'm your prophet, Noble Drew Ali, official citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere, especially my Moors kin. You're just plain rich, or I'm just plain rich, as far as the rich and the poor. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm not referring to the balance in a bank account or how much you may have in your pocket, but you have your father's treasures. At least you know God's name, Allah. Allah has given you another day. You made it through yesterday. He gave you another day today, and Allah willing, another day tomorrow. And just keep on repeating that cycle day after day. Praise Allah that He gave you another day on this earth land. Honor your mother and your father so your days can be long upon the earth land. I can remember when I was a good Negro. At this point, I'm a good Mo. But in my good Negro days, strapped down with mental slavery, I used to think that wealth had to do with something monetary, or if you had a beautiful house, or a pool in your backyard, things like that. I was a lot younger then, too. I was in my 20s. And I had to learn what it truly meant to be just plain rich. And I didn't know I was just plain rich until the prophet told me so. And there are a lot of other things that I didn't know about myself until the prophet told me so, such as study yourself some more. And then when you want to know what else to study, I'm going to tell you to study yourself again. I had to know myself and study myself to understand just how wealthy I am. You all know that I got something going on with my health. In my days, I'm more appreciative of every day that I have on this earth land. And I really praise the Lord, because what the doctors say, I understand. But the only person, or the only being that's going to have me on the soul plane or the plane of the earth land and all of that is Allah. So listen to Allah's name. Every day, I praise Him. Every day. Being rich and poor. And I know hunger. There have been times that I haven't had anything in the refrigerator, didn't have a quarter in my pocket, and something will happen out of nowhere. Somebody asks, you want me to take you to dinner tonight or something? And I'm not talking about a romantic date. I'm referring to a family member. I'm in the area, at this restaurant. Can I bring you something? And I won't know, or I don't know how it is they knew I was hungry. But some kind of way, the money will come. The food will come. The shelter will come. All of these things will come if you remain faithful to Allah and the Prophet. I know it's been around 7 minutes. That richer and poorer for poor in the Piscean record, that's a part of your marriage vows. And I think I mentioned to you before, Allah was my husband, God, man. And that I'm married to this movement. And of course, I know that I'm speaking jokingly to some extent, but when you make a commitment, like being a divine minister, you have to keep it. And you don't grow out of it. When you're a minister and make that commitment, it's yours now and forever. Part of marriage vows, too. Being married to the movement. Gratitude.
Gratitude. And we give honors to you for that, sister. And we most definitely bear witness to your sentiments and also your experiences. Allah know what we need. We know when we need it. And we also know when to provide it. Islam. Well, all right.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Islam. Not just as a Georgia territory. Praise Allah. Honor to our Holy Prophet Noble Draw and honor to the National Grand Chief. Third Dr. Charlie Suffer the great class tonight. Honor to all those who assist you on the class, and honor to the entire Act One. As always, special honor our host tonight, our National Grand Chief and our National Grand Chairman, Morris America, by the power to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Morris America. And honor to our National Assistant Grand Chief, because the Assistant Grand Chief is to Assistant Grand Chief in all affairs. They live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is normal for the citizen of Morris America. Well, you know, so the prophet did say, I brought you every day it takes to save the nation, I take it and save us. And he said, if I get you to speak. And just my quick portion of understanding, sir. You know, I heard you mention about are we rich or are we poor? We are very, very rich, sir. I go for the damn wealth because, you know, Allah, the great God of the universe, sent us the Holy Prophet, knows through all these power of earth and salvation. And the Holy Prophet said, I brought you everything it takes to save the nation. I brought you everything it takes to save yourself. And I take it to save yourself. And you know, when you think about it, he brought us the whole government. Praise Allah. He let us know that we were Moorish America. This was the most powerful government in the world. You know, when you look at it, he brought us to the greatest, the most powerful leaders in the world. My honor is divine opinion, a chief, a chairman, assistant grand chief, and a host of other national officials and faithful citizens. You know, and the Holy Prophet just asked a few favors that we attend our meetings promptly. You know, he tells us that we have love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice that must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. He let us know that all citizens must observe these holy and divine laws. You know, all this above the neck. He let us know not to cause any confusion or to overthrow these laws and constitution of this state government, because we know its consequences. He let us know that all we have to do is proclaim our nationality and our divine creed. He let us know we have a nationality, Moorish America. We have a race, Asiatic, meaning earthbound, connected to the land. He let us know that we were the Negro, Black, Color, Edo, or African American. He let us know that all we have to do is just promptly attend our meeting and become a part and parcel of uplifting acts of Moorish America. He gave us a little simple instruction. All we have to do is pay all the dues and keep in line with all the necessities that pure Moorish America. And then we power to the name of faith.
They say they win, but
it ain't hard. And when you look at it, National Grand Chief, sir, we got everything. Everything. Because, you know, you can have all the physical money and physical things in the world. But what is it that you have? I mean, when you really look at it, what is it that you have? Things outside of self, operating upon a so-called government that has no interest in you, your security, your security, your family, your children, and anything. Treating you below dirt or the sea. Have no interest in you, but to use you. Got you in a system that has no true and divine learning. All they care about is teaching you to work. But here in the Moorish American government, we teach you to love instead of hate. We teach you to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is some of the richest, that is some of the richest truth that you could ever inhabit in your life. Is knowing who made you, Allah, the great God of the universe. The one that set the Holy Prophet Noble Draw for your earthly salvation. Just study and give these laws and lessons, and the blessings just keep pouring in. The Prophet said you're playing on rich, more don't even know And when they said that, I'm sure everybody was looking outside, looking for the planes and ships and boats and guns and bombs and military, all these things. See, what I look at, he was talking about you from within. See, when you realize who made you, Allah, the great God of the universe, you start fixing that thing from within, get rid of all that old knock and cause all the confusion, and learn how to live free and be happy. Not worry about the things outside of stuff. Not worry about materialistic things and money, whatever. Oh, don't get me wrong. I know there's some need for us to operate in this corporation. But doing faithful work, it always comes. But I wouldn't trade this here divine and spiritual wealth for anything in the world. This is the best help I had in over 35, 40 years. And I've been beat on a lot. And I've been through a lot. I wouldn't trade this in for anything in the world. That's why I'm still here. Just one of the million reasons why I'm still here for my earthly salvation. I want to make it through. But when it comes to this spiritual wealth, oh yes, I'm very wealthy. I may not know it all, I may not have it all. But when you really check it, when I really check it, I believe truly I got it all because Allah made me, and He set the whole prophet no drug me from the earth of salvation. I'm in the most powerful government in the world, the most American government. I'm a citizen of the most American government and an official. So I don't have any complaints. I'm still here, still learning. And I'm a happy man. For the last time I checked, I ain't never had nerve 10.0 perfect nerve system. Not all bent out of shape, taking all these different medications and things. Because of Allah and the Holy Prophet knows to draw these laws and lessons, I'm getting ready to go. Free from all that. This is what it feels like a wealthy man, and you know who made you. And He said the Holy Prophet knows to draw thee for your earthly salvation that freed you from all this stuff and still freeing us from all these different things that we didn't deal with in the back of our thought pattern, above our neck. And praise Allah, for the Holy Prophet knows to draw thee coming for our earthly salvation. I honor to you, sir, for the great class tonight. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace, brother. For the joy and praise be to Allah. Islam. Well, all right. Is there Islam or?
Islam, Dr. Larry Daniels, Grace, Dr. Aiden. First, I rise to give praise and glory to Allah, the most merciful. And I give high honors to His holy and divine prophet, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the last prophet in these days' time. And I give honors to Act 1 of our divine constitution. And I honor you, brother, and all our officials, and I honor all my more skin online. Peace and blessings, peace and love. Great class. Well, brother, when I think about the way they created this monetary system, we understand that, our resources have been confiscated, because they wanted to create this rich man, poor man spirit in the world, and they understand that evil that they put in because, it's about greed and who got the most and who got that, because I was just experiencing something like that, and I was telling my peeps, I said, one of my friends, Joe, he let his brother stay with him for a little while because his brother was super bad. And now his brother, didn't have some money. And Joe paid for that place he got, cash money, And so it's not like he got, it's just that, and see, the thing is, when we allow ourselves to be evil, and especially dealing with loved ones and what we got and what they don't have, then we wonder why we sick. See, Joe hopping around now, he needs a hip replacement. And I was thinking to myself, he probably could be healed if he changed his mindset, because when you are evil and you draw the same thing to you. You know, you draw that type of vibrations because we understand that the body is 70% water. You know, and if you really put a magnifying glass close, you know, 100 times magnified to it, you'll see how liquidy it is. Even a rock looks solid. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, the water receives them vibrations from our thoughts. You know, and because it's 70% water, we feel all of this right here. We don't realize why we think, but that's why he created this type of system. That's why he took our resources, replaced it with paper money, and create this monetary system where he could stay on the prime land while we stay down here in the gutter fighting one another just to have something. You know, and he still indoctrinated our children into this evil system that he has created. You know, so it creates evil, you know, all evil all around us. That's why the prophet brought us them instructions. Purify your mind more, purify your thoughts to keep your body clean. You know, because purity rules all. You see, because as long as we purify our minds and stay positive, we understand that some people gonna try to use us. This gonna happen, that's gonna happen. But if you stay strong through it all, you know, if you stay faithful to those principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice through it all, that's when you're gonna reap what you're supposed to reap. You know, but if you let it just get you in an old move where you, like Joe was talking about his brother to me, I said, well, sure, you know, I gave him some positive stuff, but it's on him, you know, because I know why he's sick. I know why he's limping. I know why his luck is so bad. I know why he lost his driver's license and I had to drive him to the store, you know, because of the mindset that he's in. You know, and I'm trying to tell him how to rise up above it. You know what I'm saying? And I showed him my seal, my emblem, my flag, my constitution. You know, I told him where I did a proclamation, you know, declaration publication on my own because I had to announce myself that, you know, I'm not the one. You know, the prophet taught me how to free myself, you know, and I started with the center. I started with me, what I feel, what I think, and how I feel about myself and my freedom. You know, I'm like it's absurd for anybody to think that I'm black or call me black and I know who I am, you know, because if you don't know, you're walking around stumbling in the darkness, you know, but once the prophet gave us this light right here, you know, and these classes right here that you just put forth, brother, you know, it just shows us the way. You know, it shows us how to stand, how to think, you know, because our greatest resources is our wisdom. You know, our gross national product is our wisdom. You know, well, I don't need all that because, you know, we already know that as long as a more is a more, he's going to always be willing to lift another more up if another more willing to be lifted up, you know, because you can't pull on somebody that don't want to be lifted up, you know. But the thing is, you spread that love. And sometimes all we can be is an example of a perfect more, you know, perfecting himself. You know, just like you said, brother, who can say who I am but me? You know, I'm a mastermind. That's how I say it. You know, in order to be it, I have to proclaim it. And that's what I do. I proclaim it. I proclaim being righteous. You know, I proclaim not, you know, when I walk out the door, you know, there's no ant will get stuffed under my feet. I'm like walking on air now because I'm a God. Great class, brother. Peace and blessings. Islam.
Gratitude. Peace and blessings, brother. Islam. Well, all right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth before we go to the officials?
Islam. Grand class. National. Grand Sheik. Grand job. This is checking in from the Michigan Conference. This is Sean Washington Imhotep Rabbeinu from the Michigan territories. Arise and give all praise to the great God Allah. I give all honors to Sharif. I do Ali, the last prophet of all time. I give all honors to this theocratic government, the 12 departments, doing a great job, leaving doors and the lights on. Give all honors to the theocratic Morse government flag, Prophet's Blessings. Give honor to the Divine Constitution, Act 495. Give honor to the Zuma of the Nation, Book of Fire, Holy Quran, 101s, 102s, the Hadiths, the Book of Ali. Oh, well, wealth and unity. Wow, this is a powerful class dealing with wealth and unity. Well, like you said, you first got on, like, you get the big headed, like, you can lose your wealth tomorrow, And you just saying, like, the European could be on the job for 30 years. I just had a friend told me, I was downtown this morning, he said he was a dishwasher, and he lost his job. They got rid of him for nothing. He been there, I think, 5-10 years. He told me, I told him, I said, just go find you another one. I was telling him this information. Let him go like that. You just said that today. I'm like, wow. Yeah, but wealth, Papa said we playing rich. When our people out here, non-Moors out here chasing the God of Europe, that's government ordinance and department. That's in the European, in they system, so-called, non-government. And that's how you can get, you can fall off like that. You chasing these guys of Europe, I know we need this spread reserve note. It ain't worth nothing. Because the prophet said, I need your finance. He said, I need it bad. Then he said, money doesn't make the man. It doesn't make you a man, nothing. We got to do what we got to do because we under the colonial European foreign government over here. Article 6, it say, go and fill it the true wealth. And like you said, they switched up the monetary system on us, and they put all the debt on us, and so they can stay over here. They can stay on this land, these foreigners. And they wicked. The United States is a wicked system, and I look at money as my God. I don't really care about money. I need it. I know I need money. I got to do stuff out here. We got to, we got to get stuff done. We got to food, shelter, and clothes. We got to, pay bills under this European. We don't supposed to really be paying for nothing, really. When we had this world in our hands, everything was free. We wouldn't have to pay no light bills and, when the Moors, we was ruling the world, on these buildings, and I still see this, it's totalitarian, on these Catholic churches and all that. We was getting the world free energy, and they took all that away from us. We had to pay no light bills and all that stuff, and it's still in America. I still see everything, I see signs of temples, wealth is within ourselves. It's in within, not paper money. That's what they say. They wealthy. They said Europeans. But we already know money ain't wealth. Ain't no wealth in it. Like I said, they taxing us to death. We barely can't buy no food right now. It's hyperinflated. Most of our people are struggling. They out here chasing this money, this dollar. I know we got. I'm not knocking people that go to work every day. We got to. What they say, you got to stay above water. Like I say, like this government, this wealth in this government. Wealth can be, playing and practicing your nationality. That's wealth. The divine constitution, Like I was in the Zoom of the nation, they said that the Chinese nation over there, they get their people wealth. They ain't say money, they get nationality, they national government, because they was born, in the land over there, they get their nationality through their free national China government, they got their own economics, they circulate it, and that's what I be doing. I'm circulating this wealth, this theocratic government. And, people probably don't understand what we doing. They think, because it's one young lady, she keeps saying, y'all group. And I said, no, it's a government. It's it's a Democratic government. She don't know. You know, I told her about 10 times. You know, and you know, wealth. Like I say, wealth is in my heart. You know, and the world might not see it like that. They looking at the Federal Reserve note. That's really ain't wealth. But you know, no peace and love, gratitude, Islam.
And gratitude in Islam to you as well, brother. You know, praise be to Allah. You know, Islamism without the schism. Allah is definitely lead on, and victory is sure. So we give honors to you. Well, at this time, we're going to call forth our officials. We're going to start with calling forth our National Assistant Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Dendra Nia Curta Bay. Islam, you there, goddess? If you're speaking, Sister Dendra, we can't hear you.
Islam, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now, loud and clear, with divine ears. Islam.
Islam, gratitude, peace and love. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials. And I give honors to you, National Bread Sheet, for this powerful class tonight. I tell you, I've been writing, trying to keep up with you. Definitely got to go back and listen to the playback. Powerful class. Coming from chapter 49, ayat 22, the holy unit of the rich and the poor, holy instruction on the rich and the poor. And ayat 22, let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor in his poverty yield to despondence, for the providence of Allah dispenses happiness to them both. And I tell you, when I had the same idea, because when I looked at that word presume, I was like, what do that mean? And despondent. So I had the same thinking when you were saying, you looked at those words of gratitude and that presume, like you said, it's like thinking that, everything is going to change, everything is going to stay the same. And like you pointed out so clearly to us, this is life. And even in our Holy Quran in chapter 1, it talks about how, we're going to be tested, we're going to be tried, and that's just life. And that word despondent, when I looked it up, it also said, like you were saying, a state of low spirit caused by a total loss of hope, courage, enthusiasm. So when you are in that state of mind, you're going to have to do something to come up out of that. Because like you say, everything, like we say here in this government, everything begins with a thought. And if your thoughts, whatever your thoughts are, whether positive or negative, that's what you're going to create, because you are God. And I tell you, God, man, this has been such a powerful class. And your question on the floor, are you rich? Do you think that you are rich, or do you think that you are poor? And I concur with my Moorish kid who's spoken before me. If you would have asked me this maybe 10 years ago or whatnot, I probably would have told you I'm not poor, but I consider myself middle class. But now that I have grown and I understand who I am now, even in the Piscine area, I knew that everything I put my hands to, Allah would cause it to prosper. Certain things I just knew. But you know how you know something, but it's not really a part of you? But when I got into this government and I started learning who I am, oh man, like the prophet say, you just plain rich. And I totally believe what my prophet say. I'm rich. I'm not poor. Now, don't mean that I got $1 billion in the bank and all of that, because it's not always about money. A lot of times we think everything is about money. Well, that ain't nothing but a piece of paper, and everything is not about money. You know, when I start meditating on the names of the great God Allah, when I start meditating on the name of Allah that causes me to be healed, to walk in total health, when I start thinking about that and repeating that name over and over and over again, when I think of that about our prayer, when I start thinking, that's richness to me, you know, because once I know who made me, and I get wisdom from the highest plane of spirit life, family, what more can I ask for, except for, you know, to stay humble at Allah's holy feet and ask Him to let me continue to decrease and He increase in my life. And gratitude, God, man, for you going into the Quran dictionary and giving us those words, yada, mean great wealth, and yadun, you said it meant majesty, and you gave so many more other different ones. I couldn't write them down fast enough, but some of them meant, you know, how we make God out of other people, how people who are rich and have plenty of money, we want to lift them up and make gods out of them. And you talked about how a lot of times people we used to call it sucking up, suck up to those type of people. And I'm like you, I never was the type to do that, and I didn't respect people who did do that. You know, sucking up to somebody because they got plenty of money. No, that just wasn't me. And you also talked about how having that mindset, you know, with couples, how that caused the split, even in the couples, how one couple might be making more money and then they get to looking cross-eyed at the other spouse because they not making what they think they should be making, and all of these things, God, man, just made me see how, you know, you when you dealing with that carnal nature, see the carnal man can't understand the things of the great God Allah. And so when you even have couples who look at their finances like that, so see, we already know that was not a marriage conducted under the Moorish American government, because we don't even think like that. And furthermore, before we even join you together, you're going to have to go through some classes. So you going to know how to think before you become joined together with that spouse. And last but not least, man, you shared about how a lot of times, you know, when we stand before the great God Allah, this was so powerful. I loved it when I'm glad I had the mute button on, because you start talking about how our own limb was going to testify against us. And I'm like, you know, can you imagine? You talked about your hair. You said about how we be on that other realm. You know, your hair go tear it on you. Your hand go tell it on you. Your eyes go tell it on you. Your ears is going to speak against you. So that's why I just love my Moorish American government, because it's so much for us to do, to work on ourselves, to be the prophet say, be yourself. In other words, imitate him as our prophet, and just be ourselves. It's so much fun following after his teaching, just learning, and we got so much work to do. We don't have time to be fighting amongst ourselves and being jealous of this one and angry about this and going against their feet. We don't have time for none of that. We got so much other wonderful things to be doing that's going to cause us to be the nation that we're supposed to be, that the world is waiting on us, is waiting for us to come forth. And so I'm going to stop right there, God, man, because I could go on and on. This was a powerful class. Definitely got to go back and listen to the playback. Gratitude for calling me forth. Gratitude for letting me share. Peace and love.
Islam. Gratitude and peace and love, Goddess. We give honors to you for that love, thought, and everything that you bought. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without them schisms. Well, let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kanchu Ma'at Herube. Islam.
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Gratitude, grand man. We're in class. We rise first and foremost and give our thanksgiving, adoration, our worship, and our praise to the only one worthy of those things, the great God of the universe, our Father God, Allah. And we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days, and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who came vaulting over the tombstones of nigger color and black to set us all free, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honor to his government, our government, this Moorish American government, the government in which we live. We give honor to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, Swift angels, mufti, royal council, secretaries. Give honor to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honor to our flag and our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, our Book of Five, the Exhument of a Nation. We give honor to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to our National Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shadu Amenti Ahmedi Chef Shuaib, for bringing forth this Grand Moorish perspective this evening. We give honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We continue to give the honors where they're due and honor in all true and divine prophets. And we give honors to our ancestors. They came before us leading the way. We are them today, without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. Praise Allah for that. And praise Allah for the grand class, God, man. Moorish kin have definitely brought forth the grand blessing, and this is a very important lesson, as you said, dealing with the unity of the rich and the poor, that the finance, somebody's on you, it's just the end to a means. You know what I mean? Before the fiat and all this demonstration, it was just barter. You know, it was my skill, what I had produced, or what you had to produce. And it wasn't about trying to accumulate the most wealth. It was about, making sure that everybody had their work to do and everybody contributed to the community. Somebody makes the beads, somebody makes the basket, somebody makes the chairs, somebody does this, somebody does the farm. But it was just a way for one to recognize that we are all responsible for our community. And to show that you was a part of the community, you had to produce something. It wasn't until later down the line, when those Ashkenazis came in, the Khazars and these ones came in and started funding the wars and bringing in interest, which we know even according to their doctrine, is out of law. The interest is what caused the problem. And this is where the rich and the poor really come in. You know, you steal it from one. They labor and their energy. And as we know through the Willie Lynch doctrine, this is how the slave is made. By causing the division, by putting the old against the young, you know, big against the small, male against the female. And the rich and the poor is just another way to cause a divide. You know, to give one a false thought pattern of being better than someone else when we are all the children of the Most High. You know, there was a time when, you know, I was dead broke. I remember being living in Southern California. Luckily, you know, they had a good recycling program, so one could recycle cans and bottles, and I could give them a little money up and, you know, go to the 7-Eleven and give me, you know, a 79-cent Big Gulp, the big boy and give me a burrito for like $1 something, and that would be the meal for the night. You know, it's funny to me now, but at the time, that was real life. I was eating gas station burritos and fountain drinks because my mother had a gambling problem. I don't say had one; she still got it, but I'm not under her care at this point, so it doesn't bother me as much. But that was the day. Things like that was, and so, you know, at one time, you know, we wanted to be like ones who had all the wealth. But one thing I learned that helped me through that is that the knowledge is power. I learned that having knowledge and the power of reputation will take you places farther than money could ever get you. Because there's some places money can't get you into. But a good character and a good reputation, you know, can get you places money could never go. And I learned that as a youth, you know, that even though I didn't have money, you know, if I was, I want to say, trustworthy, that ones would take their money and say, you know, this one is we can trust in giving this one a free ticket because he's gonna represent us in the right way. He ain't gonna cause no trouble, and he's being good, and this one is going to be a good selection for these free things that we got. And this is why I teach my children the same thing. Like, you can get so many places with a reputation, a good reputation that you can never get if you had to rely upon money. Because there's people out there with money who are willing to give to one who's going to represent them correctly, who's going to do right. And so, you know, we look at, you know, the division between the rich and the poor, you know, is man-made. And then we all understand at this point, with this knowledge of self, you know, that your thinking creates your wealth or your poverty. I know I'm truly wealthy, and it ain't got nothing to do with how many zeros is in the bank account. You know, anything that I need, it just comes. And I realized that a while ago. You just have to be patient. If you really need it, and you put the thought into the universe, it's gonna come. But if you want to feel like, well, I can't take something that somebody already had, I got to have mine brand new, then you working backwards. But if you're one that feels like, well, I got to have it now and I can't wait, then you wasting your energy because the universe is going to provide it for you. It's going to show up. It's just where the universe is waiting to see whether or not you got the patience. Do you got the belief and the faith that all will be provided? The universal creator Allah is always provided for his children, for sure. And so, we at this moment, like I said, we very wealthy. We got our health. There's no amount of money that can outweigh your health. You can have $1 billion, but if you sickly, you bedridden or in the hospital, then that money means nothing to you. There's nothing you can do with it. So you definitely wealthy if you got your health. First and foremost, too, you got your family. Family is the inheritance. It's where the bloodline continues. And you ain't got no family. You let yourself be tricked by the world. You think that you could do it all by yourself. That in the end, one's going, your name is going to be carried on by someone else other than your family. That's one thing I've learned through a multitude of funerals I've had to go to. In the end, the only people there is your family. There might be 1 or 2 people from your job, depending if you worked on a job for a long time. But the job ain't gonna be there. You feel me? Your ex-girlfriends, your ex-boyfriends, they ain't gonna be there. Your friends is only you only really got a few friends. If you got them, if they true, they gonna be there. And then the rest is gonna be your family. They the only ones gonna see you off. They the ones gonna pay for your burial costs. Your job won't do it. You know what I mean? Your friends, they might pitch in a little bit, but they ain't gonna do it. They gonna look to your family like, hey, that's yours. I'm gonna take care of them. And so, one is wealthy when he got his health, or she got his health, her health. One got their family. And then, of course, you gotta have your mind. Money means nothing if your mind ain't there for you. If one paranoid, schizophrenic, or one, hypochondriac, or if you ain't got a solid mind, that money means nothing. As they say, a fool's money will quick to soon part. So, the knowledge of what to do with it and how to enjoy it is very important. So those are the things to me that make one wealthy, to make one rich, having a sound mind, sound body. You know what I mean? And support a family that one is tied into, because these things is most important as far as in the life of one, because this is what you're going to experience and what's going to be motivational and structural through one's life from cradle to the grave, as they say. And so, we judge that we're wealthy here in our nation. We got family. We got Moorish kin. There's a lot of ones out here that ain't got no spiritual family. No one to talk to, no one to give them the light of truth. All they got is surrounded by ones who's trying to use and abuse, or ones who have been used and abused, and they just perpetrating the same cycle of trauma. So we got this family, we got health in our nation. Herb Health and Healing. We are here every week trying to help one get their health together and stay ready. In the mental health, we here building one up. We looking at the ills and wills of the day. As the prophet said, is mental illness that we got, is mental slavery. and we covering it. Because once we can get one out of the slave thought pattern, out of a subjugated thought pattern, then one will see how wealthy they are. As the prophet said, you just plain rich. My children, y'all just plain rich. The mountain of gold, some still left in there. You just got to be able to see it. And I can see it. It's a beautiful demonstration. We just wealthy as a nation. You know, and we were just talking about that. This is, our people, as a collective, generate over $1 trillion. We the 16th largest nation as a people. If we come together, the money is already there. But since we so divided, we can't see. We see ourselves at the bottom, not knowing, that we above so many other people in the world as far as when it comes to the wealth. We just have to take advantage of that. We just have to understand that wealth is multiplied in our unity. But that wealth is truly useful in our unity together. The wealth of not the dollar, but the fact that we motivate all industry. We motivate all the entertainment. We motivate the health. Everybody. The melanin that we have in our skin is used in all the medical industry. They, dealing with Roberta Flack and her immortal genes. Are they using the genes of our people for different things? We done. I'm sure you guys know all of this. It goes across the spectrum. So we got a wealth there that's untapped. From all the inventions we done made over the years, from the ice cream, the potato chips, the street lights and gas masks and air conditioning and all these other things. It's so much there that we got. Is this for us time for us to tap into our own, making it work for our own selves? And that's all it is to it. So, we just want to add that to this grand class because, see, when you get caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses, when you get caught up, trying to make other people wealth, other people's last name, a thing and a fad like the Timberland and the Versace's and all these ones, they demonstration ain't the only reason they demonstrations hot because we made it hot. We put the perception of the wealth of a thing on it, and it becomes expensive once we make it that way. But as China has exposed over the last year, that these demonstrations made in China for like $10. You pay $5,000 for something that costs $20 to make. Pardon. And China is just crazy. But the perception, once again, is where it's at. And so we got to perceive the value of our own nation. We got to perceive the value of our own work and our own capabilities of making things happen. And then we understand that when it comes to the rich and the poor and the unity of the rich and the poor, that we are all one children. We are the children of one Father, provided for by His care, and we're all wealthy. As long as we got those essential things that we need for life, just to have a life is wealth in itself. Because there's so many who don't have life, so many who don't have an opportunity to do anything with it. But we do. And so let's do something with it. Gratitude, Grand Sheik, for calling us forth, and gratitude to you, North America, for being here with us, giving us your time, attention, respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you, National Grand Mufti. We give honors to you for that grand drawing and everything that you brought and all that you taught. Islamism without the schism. Praise be to Allah. Well, all right. Well, let us call forth I know that they're on a mission, but just in case they may be able to tune in, we gonna call and ask and see if our National Grand Secretary, Dr. Shepsut Tuta Bay, is available. Islam.
Can you hear me more?
Oh, loud and clear with divine ear.
Praise Allah. Islam family, Dr. Hatshepsut Tuta Bay, National Grand Secretary of State. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. We want to give honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Moorish America, Dr. Kuhuru Jehudi Bey, opening our meeting according to law, our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bey, for taking registration, and reading our subject chapter for the week. Been a Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. We want to give much honor to Act 1, also to our host instructor, our National Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedu Amenti El Mohed Shepsuel. Subject matter being Ayat 22, let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor in his poverty yield to despondence, for the providence of Allah dispenseth happiness to them both. Question on the floor, are you rich or are you poor? And, this is such a powerful chapter. Much gratitude to you, National Grand Sheikh, for bringing this grand measure forth. And I was also looking at the first ayat, the man to whom Allah has given riches and blessed with a mind to employ them aright is peculiarly favored and highly distinguished. And see, when we look at the aspect of the rich and the poor, I know prior to the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if that had been asked of me, I would have looked at it in terms of finances and money. So no, I don't have the accumulation of the fiat, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is what I was striving to demonstrate, to try to make sure that you are stable and able to pay your bills and things of that nature. But see, that's coming from a finite mindset. And when you're dealing with corporate America and you put your trust and faith on these European jobs, and back then, they did have some semblance of loyalty to you, et cetera, as being quote-unquote employees. And nowadays, it's like here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. So when we allow the truth to come into our lives, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, this first ayah didn't speak about the man to whom Allah had given money. It says riches. And the thing that makes one rich is the wisdom, that we have been blessed with, the truth that we have been blessed with. And as our Moorish kin have stated, our health, recognizing the fact that we have a grand history, heritage, etc., our ancestors, our forefathers, and being born in this new era of time now. So definitely looking at it from the aspect of being a Moorish scientist, yes, I would say that I am indeed rich because I know who I am, where I came from, where I'm going. That time never was when man was not, recognizing the fact that these truths are the means which will set one free from that state of mental slavery. So now one is no longer looking at amassing a fiat, that is in essence not based upon reality, but looking at it for what the Creator has blessed us with, even when it comes down to our virtues and our talents. And these are the things that we pass on to our children, especially in dealing with the maxims of truth. When we look at the selflessness, especially in this chapter, as far as what it is that Allah has blessed one with, how can you aid and assist fallen humanity? How can you demonstrate the degrees that Allah has blessed you with to be able to assist another along the way? And also recognizing the necessity for being able to create your own. The Prophet said, we're not here to be a beggar nation, so we can't continue to have our hand out looking for somebody else to demonstrate what Allah has blessed us with. So when it comes down to our creativity, our God powers, recognizing the fact that we are the ones that have got to demonstrate being active, demonstrating self-determination, recognizing the value of what our Creator and our Prophet has brought to us. This is where the blessings lie. And just in recognizing that and recognizing the fact that Moors are active and not passive, then in seeing the value within ourselves, then we also see the value of what it is that we can bring to our special nation of people and the rest of the nations of the world. And when you speak about the gross national product being wisdom, that's a mind-blowing demonstration, especially when you're coming from a finite mindset going to one that is based upon infinite levels. So this is a powerful class. Much gratitude to you, Dr. Shaheed, for bringing forth these grand lessons. Definitely want to listen to the playback, especially in dealing with the dictionary and the master words that you brought forth. So gratitude, Moore, for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
Islam. And is our chairman available? Is he on a mission, National Grand Secretary of the State?
I'm on a mission right now, so you might have to contact headquarters. Gratitude.
Okay.
I'm quite sure he's there.
Okay, praise be to I was just Islam. Well, all right, gratitude. Well, we give honors to you for that measure, National Grand Secretary of the State, and safe navigation, Islamism without the schism, coming from Allah's divine station. Let us call forth our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Islam, Grand Man. We was just trying to see if we there, but we was trying to call on the National Assistant Grand Sheikh because that was ordered, and then we were going to call you. Islam. Well, all right. So we'll call forth our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, and then we'll call forth our chairman, being that we know he here. Islam. Dr. Heru Hudi Bey. Islam, or Islam.
Moorish America, Dr. Heru Hudi Bey, National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America. We rise and give our praise to mighty God Allah. We give honors to our Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Give honors to the Moorish American government, honors to our Act 1, honors to all our officials, honors to our Grand National Flag, Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem. We give honors to all Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere. We give honors to each and every one of you for being in today's Moorish Perspectives class. I want to also give honors to all those out in social media attending our meeting this evening. Gratitude to you. I want to also give honors to all those who spoke before me and honors to all those that will speak after me. It's been a powerful, powerful class. Grand Sheikh, coming from chapter 49, Holy Unity of the Rich and Poor, coming out of ayat 22. Let not the rich therefore presume on his riches, nor the poor on his poverty. Yield to the dependent, for the providence of Allah depends the happiness to them both. Islam, and I believe your question on the floor was richer or we poor. Islam, and I concur with one Morris Ken, you know, and knowing that I praise Allah for being wealthy, Islam, and I've been on both sides of that spectrum. I've been poor. I remember a time when, we could only get one pair of tennis shoes per year. You know, I know more is now. I have a son who has it seems like 60 pairs sneakers. It was time when, we didn't have much. And back in the early 60s and the 70s, it's a hard time when you see most of the ones that had wealth was the pimps and the drug dealers. And, wealth was something that was an illusion. It was something so far away that it was unreachable. Coming through this journey, I ended up attaining, quote unquote, some semblance of wealth from the opportunities to work in certain areas that I ended up being what they call a middle class. But even that, praise Allah, even making hundreds of dollars a week, when payday came, after paying bills and whatnot, one didn't have much to live on, and just living paycheck to paycheck. I soon found out, praise Allah, that he let me know from experiences that it didn't matter what material things I would acquire. They're not mine. They're not mine to keep. And so the value of those things became less and less. I never sought the fancy car or a big house. Those things that didn't mean too much to me. I sought the love of someone that cared about me, that would, make me smile, help me smile, and help me laugh. Those were the things I put more value on. Those things that were within. And I give you honors, man, Sheikh, for reminding us that Allah is the true giver of wealth. And, that is where, I'm the richest, is within. Because I truly believe that no matter what happens, I'm neither going to be poor, I'm neither going to be so wealthy where I'm so hung up on myself. Islam. So it's a beautiful feeling to know that no matter what happens, I'm always going to be rich because I have the knowledge of who I am and who made me. I'm always going to be rich because I have these principles that I carry with me. I always lead with love. And that is a principle and that you cannot put a price on because Allah is love. And I looked at some of a chapter in the Quran where Yehoshua spoke a parable when he spoke of a man who was, working the land, tilling the land, and the land was hard and poor.
and it was very difficult for him to provide for his family. And one day a stranger came by and saw that he was working so hard and tilling his land, and the stranger told him that, you work the surface of this land, and I'm paraphrasing that, the wealth lays beneath. That's where your treasures are. Your field is rich with treasures. And when the farmer, he dug deeper in the rocky soil, when he dug deep into the earth, he found that there was treasures hidden in his field, and he was no longer poor. And the same thing is within us when we discard those things that we have on the surface of ourselves, those things that keep us from being who made us, keeping us apart from our great God Allah. When we get rid of those, the misnomers of Negro, Black, and colored, when we get rid of those things that harm not just ourselves but others, when we get rid of those illusions that wealth is in a paper, those illusions that wealth is in how much you have acquired, then we will know that wealth is within our heart. Islam that's where we are the most richest at, is within the heart, within the self, where Allah lives, within the temple. Islam, and it's such an honor and a blessing to know that no matter what happens, we never want for anything. Allah has always provided, and He always will. I have no doubt about that. So I give honor to you, Grand Man, that giving us these lessons and reminding us that Allah is the true giver of wealth, and Allah is always within us. Islam. Peace and love, Grand Man, Grand Class.
Islam. And peace and love to you as well, Grand Measure, brother. Praise be to Allah for you and all that you do, all that you will do. Islamism without the schism. Well, let us call back to the floor our beloved Grand Man and Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru, Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, Grand Man. Oh yeah, Islamism. We hear you loud and clear.
We wouldn't be able to be travelers that we are. So it's just an honor and a blessing. And oh man, it's a powerful journey, more. So I want to just give much honor to our divine constitution, our holy Quran, and all those things that have been left for us to carry ourselves and direct our course and our measurement. So we have the holy measurement because we are the message that we bring. So it's an honor and a blessing. Islam is without a schism, Lord. Thank you. Peace.
Islam. Islamism without the schism, Grand Man. Praise be to Allah for the tribe of endurance. Well, this brings to conclusion our measure, Moorish kin, and we hope that we planted some seeds, into the hearts and minds of our people, that will lead to that which is love and divine, because that's the grand drawing, and that is where our wealth lies. So that being said, we love you with love and divinity, peace, love, and law at all costs. And you know how it go. January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where our prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations, yea, the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breasts of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Go in peace, Muslims. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement, you and I tie, Islam-ism, without the schism. Go in peace, Muslims.
Love and happiness. All you gotta do right that boy there.
Islam. Islam, Moors, we love you. And gratitude. We're gonna definitely put this measure on our YouTube and upload it, but we'll be going live from TikTok from here on out. And we want to give honors to the people that showed up. Our sister Cena Renee, sister brother Adrian Johnson. We give honors to you, Michael Stanley L, Ant-Man, Virgil Smith, Jerry Hickok, 580, Go Gadget, Pretty, I think P Original, Al, I think that's Al Josh Snowbreaks, everybody, even those who were patient, with me trying to get this sound right. So we're gonna figure it out. J-Dub, who else? Young Sensei, we give honors to your brother. Our National Assistant Grand Sheik, Me I Trust. Man, we had a lot of our Moorish kin show up on here. We just say gratitude, for the 86 that came and the 8,935 hearts y'all sent out. Man, that's a lot of love. So peace and love. We'll see y'all in our next class. Peace and love, Moors. Yes, sir. That's right. Where the guys and the guys of the nation come from. Sunday school. Peace and love. All right, family. That bring this particular session to a close. Y'all make sure y'all stay in tune because this is where we gonna be at. You'll see content still be putting out there. We ain't done, generating measures coming from our prophet. We got great measures coming from that aspect, and also, just the overall universal doctrine, of what it is that we had to bring forth. So we still getting used to this particular apparatus. Like I say, I'm gonna upload this recording to YouTube manually. That way we still giving, our measures there as well, keeping that alive, because we also getting ready to open up our Ears podcast. For those who are not familiar with the Ears podcast, that's Egyptian Adeptus Research Society, that we will be bringing forth, and we have a lot to bring forth out of what we have to offer to our people. So that being said, we're going to bring an end to this particular live, and we will be live again very soon. So we're going to try to get in these algorithms and stop TikTok, from telling them tales, talking about we putting unoriginal content up here. So peace and love. Everything we do is original. We ain't stealing nothing from nobody. An American degree, we ain't took nothing from, the United States. All this come from Moorish America, with all due respects. So that being said, gratitude with a divine attitude. Peace and love.